Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Business Intelligence Tip of the Week. Today, we're going to be talking about something specific to dashboard gear product, and that is I get the question a lot about building headcount and turnover reports. As many of you know, we have products around financials, human resources, supply chain, different reporting and analytics pieces within that. When it comes to HR, the two most common things that people want to report on are turnover and headcount. Today, I'm going to talk about headcount reporting using SQL reporting services to do that. If you're using another tool, you can do very similar things. Obviously, how you do that in Tableau or Burst or Cognos or whatever tool you want to use will be slightly different, but the tables and many of the concepts apply equally to that. We do that in Power BI as well. So today I'm going to be talking about headcount, and also know that what I'm going to show you applies to turnover as well. But I'm just going to use headcount numbers as part of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop on over to my SQL Reporting Services Report Manager. And first of all, I'll show you some examples. So we have a sample dashboard that we deploy that has just some high-level metrics. But when I click on headcount here, it will give me a sub dashboard. And then when I click on a number on that dashboard, it will give me a detailed listing of the headcounts within each process level. So I'm going to go ahead and build out a listing style report, and then I'll create a quick graph on it just to give you how easy it is to do. So when you build a report in SSRS, you have a few different ways to do it, but the way that I usually show people and that you're used to seeing is through what's called Report Builder. And so if on the Report Manager, you say New Paginated Report, it's going to open up a tool called Microsoft Report Builder. If you don't have that, you can download it from the web for free. So just search on download Microsoft Report Builder, and it's a report authoring tool. And we've done many sessions on these in the past. And so hopefully you will be familiar with some of the basics, because I'm not really going to cover the basics, so to speak, of Report Builder, but I will of building the headcount report. So what we're going to do is just build a simple table. If I go table or matrix wizard, we're going to create a data set. That data set is going to be our HR data. And what that's going to do is open up my sample HR database that I have locally. And if I go under tables, you're going to see a whole bunch of tables that we deliver as part of our connector product for HR. And that connector product allows you to get the data from Infor. We have connectors for PeopleSoft now, Oracle. We're working on Workday as well. So we have different connectors that connect in and get the values. And it doesn't matter if you're a single tenant user or multi-tenant in the cloud, our data will pick up. The table that we put on the SQL side for headcount is this table called RPT, Employee Census As Of. And now for GHR, so if you're an Infor GHR customer, the table will look very similar. It'll have RPT in front and then an underscore, and it'll either have a GHR or an LTM in it, just depending on what your implementer has used as its template. But it's basically the same table, but just a slightly different source, and some of the column names are different. But if I do the little plus here underneath that RPT employee census as of, what we've done is taken all of your employee data over time and distilled it down into a single table that you can use for a majority of reporting. So that dashboard, for instance, that I showed you, most of that, probably 90+% of it, was built off of this one table. So very simple to build reports because you don't have to join data from all over the place. We've already done that as part of the connector. So what I'm going to do for this headcount report is I'm going to pick out a few fields that we can create these reports on. So the first one I'm going to do is process level full name. Now in our modules, whenever we see full name, what we've done is combined the code or the key field for it and the name. So in the case of process level full name, we're going to see the process level code, a dash, and then the name of the process level. So on our report, maybe I'll do process level, and we'll do department, and then maybe what I'll do is I'll do the employee full name. So we'll list each process level, each department, and each employee. And then for the count, what we have at the bottom of these tables is a whole bunch of different flags that we put a 0 or 1 in. So for instance, you'll see a term status, EFF. That means that were they terminated in that period I'm looking at, we'll put a 1 in that field if they were, and a 0 if they weren't. And this EFF means based on effective date, and the ENT means based on enter date. So in the case of EOM, that's end of month, the EOM record status, if I add that to the report, that means was the employee active at the end of the month? If they were, it'll have a 1 in it. And if they weren't, it'll have a 0 in it. So it works very good for doing metrics of counts or summing up those values, and it'll give you the total head count in this case. Or if you wanted to say the total term count, I could use the term status. So it's a very quick way to get different counts of data that's there for statistical purposes. Now for our report, anything I checked here is something I can either show on my report or using formulas on the report, use in some way on that report. So I'll just do a basic one that's listing each process level, which is like a higher level business entity, the departments within it, then the employees within it, and the totals of those employees. Now to do a head count, I need to apply a filter to that, and that is I need to say that I only want to see my active people. So just like I did that count based on that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this EOM record status, put that in my filter, and say I only want people with a 1 in them. So because we only want active people. If I didn't do that, it would list all the employees. Now my total counts would still add up the same, because if you sum all the 1s and 0s, it's still going to be the same number. So my total numbers would be the same, but because I'm listing out the detailed employees, I don't want to see all the employees that were inactive too. I only want the ones that were active. So that's why I put a 1 there. Now, the other thing I want to do is I want to be able to pick what period of time I'm looking at. So for this example, I'm not going to do a trend crossing multiple times. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow the user of my report to say, I want to see this for a particular year. And I'm going to say make that a parameter, which means instead of me as a report author hard coding what year I'm looking at, I'm going to have it be variable. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say I want it to be for a particular period. And I want that to be something the user or the runner of the report can decide. So right now it's hard coded in there to say I just want active people, but I want whoever's running the report to say what year and period that I'm running for. And if I do next, it's then going to ask me to lay out this report. So in this case, I'm going to say I want all my different fields to be grouped, meaning it's going to come out in the order of process levels, then within the process level, the departments, and within the department, the employees. And then the values that I'm going to add up are going to be the head count or the EOM record status effective in this case, which is really the head count within that. If I do next, it's just going to give me a little bit of a layout wizard that it has here as well. And I'm going to keep it just at the default, which is going to give me a plus and minus to expand and collapse each group and so forth. So then if I do next, it gives me a little summary, and I'll say finish. And now what that's going to do is it's going to pop it up here into the report builder report layout. And I'm going to make these columns a little bigger just so we can see the full department, the full process levels, the full employees. Get my mouse to cooperate here. And then I don't need to see the sum of 1 next to each employee. So I'm just going to delete that off on the detailed employee line. Now, if I run this, it's going to ask me, as I told it to, for what year am I running this for? I'll say 2010. And what period? Period 4. If I view the report, it's going to give me all my process levels, and it's going to give me the head count totals for each of those process levels. And then if I expand out whichever one, it's going to show each department and their head count within each department. And if I expand out the department, it's going to show me who are all those employees that are active. So very simple to do that. Now I could have easily, back on the report design, added job codes or positions or supervisors, grouped it or displayed whatever other information I wanted. But I just wanted to do a simple headcount listing here where it's each process level and department and their headcount and the people behind it. Now, what I did here was a listing style. Now, many of you want to build out dashboards and see other things, and that's just a different display format. I did it as a table just to show the details, but I could also instead inserted a chart. And I'll do a chart wizard here, and I want that on my data set that I created, that same data set. We'll do it as a column chart. Probably not a very pretty one this is going to end up being, but maybe I want just the total by process level. So I could say, give me every process level and give me the headcount within those. And it gives me a little summary, which fine, whatever, that looks fine to me. Put this down here, and I'll make it a little bigger because the bars ends up being kind of crazy. We'll go this way. And if I run this now, it asks me that same question. What do you want? I'll say 2009 now, and I'll say period 1. Now what it does is it shows me a bar chart, or a column chart, I should say, of the various process level headcount within each of those. And you could clean this up and format it, make it pretty. I mean, at this point, it's just report design. So I could say, my headcount report. So just to get simple headcounts is just a matter of going to our employee census as of table, selecting what you want to display, what you want to group by, and then picking out the measure. In this case, EOM record status was the value at the end of each month. We also have another field in there called record status without the EOM, and that is anyone active at any point in that month. So if you want to get a count of anyone that was active at any time in January, you use the record status. But if you want to kind of normalize it across periods, you can use the EOM one, and it's just saying, give me the headcount at the end of every month. And you can do that same for the terms, the hires, the promotions, whatever buckets you tell it as part of the implementation that you want to kind of track through the process. We can do that. So our whole goal at Dashboard Gear is to take that data that's in your HR system, summarize it up, take all the job information, the supervisor, the positions, the employees, kind of join the most common stuff together into those in census tables, and then you can very quickly and easily create reports using the tool of choice, SSRS in this case. Hopefully you found today's session helpful, and as always, we look forward to talking with you again next week. It is going to be the 4th of July next week, so I'll look at the schedule and see if that works for some of the people on my team to help with this. But if that works out, I'll talk with you again next week. Otherwise, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Take care, everyone.